Greetings, YouTube. So today I am introducing something new. This is the first episode of Conversation and Coffee. Basically what I'm thinking about doing here is maybe weekly, depending on what I have going on, doing a conversation just about either a line of figures or a custom or a diorama or anything that I got going on right at that point in the week in my collecting journey, and to share it with all of you and see what you think. So today we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat figures. We're going to delve into the Storm Collectibles options, and we're also going to talk about the McFarlane ones, time permitting. So I got my coffee. It's Sunday morning. We're about to have a conversation about Mortal Kombat.
Round one.
Okay, so real quick, let's take a look or talk about the landscape of action figure collecting. And when I say action figure collecting, we're talking about like 1/12 scale, not Hot Toys or 1/6 scale, and not 1/18. Not that I don't like 1/18, but for these purposes, we're talking about 1/12. Your options for Mortal Kombat are very slim. There's literally two, as far as I can see. There's Storm Collectibles, and then there's McFarlane's offerings. So you don't have a whole lot to choose from, and they're kind of very different price-wise. Storm Collectibles is on the high end. This is an import coming from Hong Kong. They're very well done, but they don't release a ton of them, and they're more expensive. For Storm Collectibles, you're looking at between $80 to $120, $130 for a figure, depending on the size. Obviously, somebody like him is going to be way more than a regular size figure. But as they say, you get what you pay for, and I will be showing you that here shortly. But so you got to make a decision based on your collecting resources. What can you do? What are you able to do? What are you willing to do? Because Mortal Kombat is, it's not like it's some fly-by-night franchise. Mortal Kombat is a big deal for most people, for a lot of people. So that's where we're at with your options for Mortal Kombat. Now, the good news is that the scale of Storm Collectibles and McFarlane's Mortal Kombat figures actually fits together, so that's a plus. All right, let's have a quicker or a more closer look at our Storm Collectibles. Okay, so here we go. As I said, Storm Collectibles, you're looking at between $80 and $120, $130 to get a figure. And they do tend to skyrocket on the secondary market, unfortunately. However, you can, and I have, and I'm speaking from experience, I have found many of my collection at reduced cost of what people were asking for on the secondary market. Some of them for even cheaper than they were going for retail. For instance, my favorite figure here, Reptile. So, Reptile is the basic palette swap ninja from Mortal Kombat, and he is one of the newer ones, actually. You can still get him at regular retail. The great part about Mr. Reptile here is that Mortal Kombat is notorious for having palette swap characters, basically the same character in different colors, given a different name, given a different backstory, but exact same outfit, just different colors, and basically, basic colors too. So I was able to find Mr. Reptile here several times for way under what he originally went for. I'm talking about like 50, 50, 60 bucks. And then able to use them for customs. So I'll talk about one here in a little bit, but that's what I love about Mr. Reptile. Not that he's my favorite character. I like him, but I like that he's cheap and I'm able to use him for other stuff. So that's Reptile. And then here we have, and this is also one of the newer releases. This is the second version of Sub-Zero. This is, I want to say his name is Kuai Liang. He was in, made his debut in Mortal Kombat 2. And he, as the lore goes, he is the younger brother of the original Sub-Zero, Bihan, and he is a good guy, whereas the original Sub-Zero was kind of a bad guy, and then he got even worse later. So, as far as aesthetics and things go, these guys look, the Storm Collectibles tilt, or the theme of their Mortal Kombat line is the older games. They take their inspiration for their looks, for their characters, probably from, I would say, Mortal Kombat 1 through like Ultimate Combat or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Maybe not so much some of the side games or lore games, but definitely those original 3 Mortal Kombat games. Whereas McFarlane tends to take his looks from the very new or more recent games. All right, so this isn't a review or anything, but I am going to run through articulation for one of these guys, just so if you've never seen it, you can see it. So real quick, one of the reasons why I did not get into Storm Collectibles right off the bat when I first started collecting about 4 or 5 years ago is that the elbow joints in their figures have this kind of pattern that they use for the joint setup, and I never liked it. I just couldn't get past the extra line work in here for a joint. And it just, we know that these guys are not real people, and they have joints, and the joints are going to show. I mean, being pinless and all that's great, but at a certain point, the joints are going to show, unless you're dealing with like a rubberized body or whatever. So I was struggling to justify getting these because of that. And the price, of course, because when I first started collecting, I wasn't buying high-end figures. Like, I couldn't imagine paying over $30 or $40 for a figure back then. Amazing how times have changed. But regardless, I got to a point where I gave these guys a shot because I wanted Mortal Kombat figures, and I knew these were the best ones out there. And I am happy with them. I'm over this. It still sometimes bugs me when I look at it, but not enough for me to not get the figures. So, speaking of joints, here we go with articulation. So, the double joint is here, but it's not super effective because they're so muscled up. I do like that the joint cleans up nice in the elbow, so I guess there's a trade-off there. You do have a bicep twist. You have a very nice butterfly joint. Your knees are also double jointed, and you do get good range there. No boot swivel. You get a little bit of a thigh twist in here at the hip. Your ankles are pretty standard forward facing pin, I want to say, and then you get good rocker. And you do get toe-ticulation. That's not real loose, which that's nice. I hate when the toe-ticulation is all loose. So, one thing about Mortal Kombat, about Storm Collectibles, is their torso setups are very, very different than what you might be used to. From the diaphragm joint up, you get a rubber overlay for the chest. This is not hard plastic, it's a rubber overlay. Same thing with your neck, that's part of the rubber overlay. There is a mechanism inside here that connects to the neck and connects to the inside of the shoulder joints. You still get movement here, just like you would if there was a hinge and things here. It's just bending inside the rubber. So that is very different, but what it allows for is some really good movement. And Reptile here lost his mask, whoopsie. So it allows for really good stretching, movement, articulation in the upper body because you're not restricted by hard plastic. Now it does tend to cause some gaping holes when you're moving some of the stuff, but that stuff can be reworked and fixed. So it's a trade-off, but it's a kind of nice way to get some extra movement out of figures that are supposed to be very well, flexible and articulated because they're martial artists. All right, so as far as accessories go with your Storm Collectibles figures, This is where you're getting more of that bang for your buck because you get a plethora of accessories. And I'm talking about a lot. You get extra heads, you get tons of hands, you get effects, you get the, if they have different fatality moves, you get that stuff. I know one of the, I want to say it's Sector, he came with this huge apparatus that was part of an old fatality that was completely ridiculous where some big thing came up and crushed the guy. That he came with that. You come with like the cyborg guys, they had missiles and stuff that they could shoot out of their chests and nets and pitchforks and bombs and all types of stuff. So you get tons of accessories with your Storm Collectibles figures. Accessories is not a problem with Storm Collectibles, so that offsets or lessens the blow of the higher price because you're not getting that kind of accessories with a McFarlane figure or, you know, something like that. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna go hands-on here to show some of these guys close up. Here's Kintaro, the huge Shokan. We got Raiden, and I did add a couple of pieces of soft goods to some of these guys just to add a little bit of flair to them. There's my guy Kung Lao. He's all Sub-Zero the younger. Here is Sub-Zero the older. Now this is one that is actually a custom. This is a reptile figure. And all I did was added some soft goods, made him a tunic, painted his armor parts the correct color, painted the green parts on his uniform that like on his legs and stuff, painted that black, and voila, Sub-Zero. Because he was going for crazy prices on the aftermarket. I'm talking about like over $200, crazy amounts of money. There's Scorpion, Reptile, we got the Cyborgs, Sector, Cyrax, and Smoke. And then this is also another custom though. This is a cyborg body. I was able to find some cyborgs for relatively cheap on eBay. So I got a couple extra ones and made this custom. All right, so there's the Mortal Kombat family so far for me. Obviously, I don't have all of them. Speaking of that, let's real quick run through all of the ones that have been released by Storm Collectibles. All right, so as far as I can tell, so far they have released Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, Ermac, Rain, and Smoke. These are all on the classic body. I think it may have been their first body that they made. These were all the Ninja palette swap characters. It's basically the same figure with just a different color tunic and different accessories. Then you had Shao Kahn, Goro, Baraka, and then you had Cyrax, Sector, and Smoke, which are your Cyber Lin Kuei or your Cyber Ninjas. Then they started a new body, and I want to say these ones here are on the new body. You got the Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile on the new body. We got Mutaro, Kintaro, the younger Sub-Zero, Kung Lao, and I want to say that, oh, and Rain. So, not that many figures released as far as the Mortal Kombat catalog. There's a ton of characters that they can make, so they have not released a ton of them, so it's kind of still relatively early to get in on them. Coming soon, they do have Kano. Kano's actually supposed to drop in like a month or two, and he's only going for $79, so that's a relatively good price. There is a Liu Kang also up for pre-order. He's supposed to drop in May, I want to say. He's a little bit more expensive because he comes with a huge dragon. And then there is going to be a re-release or a new release of Goro. I'm not sure what he's going to look like. The first Goro was based on like the first game, so, or the second game, whichever one he showed up in. So that's the Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat front. So now we're going to take a look at the McFarlane version of Mortal Kombat, which is probably going to have to be in a part 2 because this is already too long. So like, comment, subscribe, check out part 2. Later. Hey, look, I'm sorry. It was an accident. It was an honest mistake. It could have happened to anybody. It's my bad. It's completely my fault. And no, it's not a centaur thing. You're just too big. Blame it on your tail. That's why I forgot to put you in the shot. It's my fault, all right? Just calm down. Calm down.